What is the best way to become an animal owner? Adopting from a shelter or buying from a breeder? In my opinion, adopting from a shelter is a much better way to become a pet owner than buying from a breeder. Most people have pets, and some of the most common house pets are cats and dogs. Many people receive cats or dogs as gifts, but no one really stops to think about where these cats or dogs came from. I chose to talk about adopting animals from shelters because I've had many pets in my life, and I can easily say that adopting an animal from a shelter is a much more gratifying feeling than buying an animal from a breeder or a puppy mill. The purpose of my speech is to convince anyone who is interested in becoming a pet owner to adopt instead of buying from a local breeder or a puppy mill. Adopting from a shelter can be a little bit more complicating, but in the long run, it is more beneficial to not only you, but also the animal that you end up adopting. When you adopt from a shelter, this allows you to save an animal's life. When you adopt, it also allows you to be sure that you are receiving a healthy animal, whereas puppy mills, you may not be receiving a healthy animal and you may not know it until later on. And shelters look out for the well-being of all animals, so the small sum of money that you do spend on your new pet will not only benefit your pet, but it will also benefit other animals that are in the shelter and that may be coming to the shelter in the future. When you adopt an animal from an animal shelter, you may be just looking at it as your next pet, but to this animal, that is its entire life. Most shelters have certain animals that have been in the shelter for a while. These animals are the next in line to be put to sleep. By adopting one of these animals, you are literally saving its life. Animals rely on humans for their basic needs, like food, water, and shelter. By adopting a dog who lives in a local shelter, you are allowing yourself to become the caretaker of this animal, and this animal's entire life will now depend on you. Animals in the shelter are not usually fed the same food regularly, which is not a healthy diet for these animals. So by adopting this animal, not only are you saving its life, but just by feeding it the same food every day, you are easily putting it on a healthier diet and a healthier lifestyle. At humanesociety.org, you can learn all about how animals at the shelter are taken care of, and there's ways to donate and different things that the shelters do in order to be able to afford all the animals that they have and with their small budget. Adopting from a shelter is also a better way to become a pet owner because you pay a small fee, but that fee includes making sure that your new pet has its shots, it is spayed and neutered, and it just assures that your animal's overall health and well-being is okay. Whenever you adopt an animal from the shelter, the younger animals are usually more because they have to have their shots and they have to be spayed or neutered. By spading and neutering your pets, you are assuring that your animal will not be able to reproduce, which will save possibly a litter or multiple litters of kittens or puppies or whatever animal you do decide to adopt. At ASPCA.org, they talk about the importance of spading and neutering your pets and how puppy mills do not take the time to spade or neuter because that is their main focus is the money that they're making, not the well-being of the dog that they are getting rid of. When you adopt a pet from a shelter, your money is going to not only the pet that you adopted, but it is also going to other animals that are in the shelter currently or the animals that will be in the shelter in the future. Shelters are always filled with animals that need homes, but there isn't always the money and the budget to take care of all these animals. Your money goes to helping these animals that may sit in these shelters for months. Shelters are always looking for money, and since they do have a very small budget, they are constantly having fundraisers. They're always accepting donations, and buying from a puppy mill versus buying from a breeder, the money that you pay is way different. Buying from a shelter is much cheaper, and you get much more out of it, and you're also helping that shelter out. When you buy from a puppy mill or a breeder, you are helping only that breeder out. At dogbreedinfo.com, it says that many dogs that are in puppy mills are taken away from their mothers at only 8 weeks old, which is not a sustainable age. At 8 weeks old, the animals are not supposed to be away from their mothers. They are not mature enough to be away. This will cause problems in the future. Most animals in puppy mills are malnourished because of the age that they're taken away from their mothers. There is an estimated 10,000 puppy mills in the United States, and with the help of shelters, some of these puppies that are not sold are brought to the shelters. When these puppies come into the shelters, they are usually adopted before any of the other animals because most of the time they are full bred and expensive breeds. So they do go before the other animals in the shelter that may not be an expensive breed or purebred, which helps that animal out, but it kind of puts a hold on the other animals that are in the shelter, and it means that they will most likely have to be there for an even longer amount of time. So in conclusion, I wanted to share with you the benefits of adopting your own pet and how important it is to the actual animal. I've explained to you that you will save the lives of animals, how your pet will be healthy versus buying it from Puppy Mill and finding out later on that it does have problems, and how your money not only goes to your pet, but it also goes to helping the shelter in general. So anytime anyone is interested in becoming a pet owner, they should look into adopting before they decide to go to a breeder, because when you adopt, you will be saving a life, and it is a way more gratifying feeling than just buying from a breeder. So thank you for your time, and I hope that next time you decide to adopt a pet, you do adopt from a shelter instead of buying from a breeder.